showroom now for the expert service they deserve. And don't forget to ask for me, 10% charge.
Time and Temperature is sponsored by Raymore and Flanagan. Find it, feel it, furnish it fast.
Straight ahead on Face the State, both Republicans and Democrats are now agreeing marijuana will be legalized in Connecticut. But what will a pot-smoking Connecticut look like? We'll discuss with marijuana advocate and attorney Aaron Romano. Plus, how will and how should Governor Malloy be remembered? We will talk about his legacy with one of his closest advisors, Andrew Doba. Big news this week, Lieutenant Governor Nancy Wyman takes over as chairman of the Democratic Party. Also a new business in Connecticut with a positive message. Co-founders Aaron and Jocelyn Amar are here. Plus our flashback when Monday Night Football's Joe Tessador was one of us and the Hartford Whalers were Connecticut's team. All straight ahead this Sunday, December 16th, 2018.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30. Welcome to Face the State. I'm Dennis House. Marijuana will be legalized in Connecticut. That's what both Republicans and Democrats are saying these days, saying it will happen next year. Now, we've discussed the pros and the cons of whether it should be legalized in the program this past year. So today we're going to talk about potential details. And with us is an attorney with Connecticut Normal, which is an advocacy group for the legalization of marijuana, Aaron Romano. Mr. Romano, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here.
So NORML stands for what again?
The National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws.
And one of the big things you're saying is that under the new laws, you'd like to see it called something else than marijuana.
That's right. We're trying to move away from calling it marijuana. Marijuana was the term that was coined by Harry Anslinger when he was making cannabis illegal. And what we're trying to do is move back to what it's originally called, which is cannabis. That's its scientific name, and it actually has biblical origins, and it stems from the Hebrew word cannabisum, which is in the Bible, and it refers to this plant.
Our next governor, Ned Lamont, says he is in favor of legalizing marijuana in our state. Democrats now have the numbers to make it happen in the legislature, so it's a foregone conclusion that in some form, marijuana will be legalized in Connecticut next year. Which kind of legalization would you like to see?
So there are several things that really need to be addressed. The first is the medical program in Connecticut. Connecticut has the only medical program in the Northeast where patients are unable to grow their own medicine. Now, this makes it very difficult for some of these patients who have extreme illnesses where they cannot work and they can't afford their medicine. So like other states that have medical programs, we're pushing so that patients in Connecticut can grow their own medicine. That's number one. Number two is a criminal justice reform. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there with cannabis convictions. And so the legislature should address this. They did address this when there was decriminalization in 2014. My firm, unfortunately, had to take a case all the way up to the Connecticut Supreme Court to ensure that people could erase their convictions from minor offenses. But if something is going to be legal at that point, the legislature should act and erase all the convictions for people who have been convicted of cannabis offenses.
Would that also mean releasing people in prison who are in there for the same offenses?
Of course. So if we're erasing their convictions, then people who are currently in jail, their sentences should be commuted, and people who are in on bail that they can't afford, they should obviously be released from prison for that.
How would Connecticut look with recreational marijuana being legalized? Would it be sold in, do you go to the CVS and pick it up with your mouthwash, or what do you do?
Well, it really depends on how Connecticut wants to grow its program. And I say that with no pun intended, but there are different models that could be implemented. If Connecticut intends on building an economy around cannabis, it has to do so to involve small businesses. Right now, with the medical program, we've seen that Connecticut has been very restrictive with their awards of licenses. There are only 4 medical producers in the state. What that means is the jobs are not being created for numerous people who want to get into the industry. I get calls from people all the time who own small businesses, restaurants, tanning salons, nail salons, who have money to reinvest in the community and create jobs. But unfortunately, the state has created a model where those people because they don't have enough money, can't get into the business.
So would you want to have them sold at like package stores or separate stores, something like that?
We already have a working model. If we take a look at the way liquor and wine and beer is sold, we have a working model for a controlled substance, if you will. That could be an intoxicant. So we just have to implement the same model for cannabis. So for instance, zoning laws regulate where liquor stores can be. And so that's the way, similarly, cannabis stores should also follow those zoning rules as well.
What about smoking publicly? Would you be able to go through a park and smoke it outside a restaurant in a smoking area?
Well, again, we have a model that's already working for liquor. So one is not allowed to imbibe in liquor outside on a public thoroughfare or public street. But many states that have legalized cannabis have done so with private clubs. That would be the equivalent of a bar where people go and they drink alcohol in a setting that's where it's permitted. Minors, of course, are not permitted there, and so the same model could be a working model for cannabis.
Some of those who have been opposed to legalization of marijuana have a serious concern about people driving while impaired, that there's no real way to tell if a person is stoned and they're in a crash. What do you think about that, and what should be done?
Well, law enforcement is already addressing this issue nationwide, and the fact that something will become legal isn't going to change the way law enforcement acts. If someone is suspected of being under the influence, there are certain tests that can be performed to determine whether or not that person is under the influence of over-the-counter cough medicine. The fact is, you're not allowed to drive while intoxicated, even in states where cannabis is legal. And police officers have the ability to determine whether or not someone's intoxicated. And they should be penalized for that if they're breaking the law.
It's a visual thing, though, in terms of telling whether a person is impaired by marijuana. There's no way to test it like there is liquor, correct?
Right. So there's no level that you can test in the blood to say that this person is intoxicated by cannabis to a certain degree where they cannot drive. It's something that would have to be observational by the officer. So if the person is clearly swerving across the road, left and right, and unable to keep their balance, that would be an indicator that they're under the influence.
I know there are a lot of different thoughts on this, but what is your take on how much money the state could make off legalizing recreational marijuana?
Again, it depends on how the state implements the program. If they implement it in the restrictive manner in which they've done the medical program, and Connecticut's medical program has been one of the most restrictive in the country. If they do it that way, only the very few who are awarded those licenses will make any money. I think the way Connecticut should do it is they should do it to enable farmers to be involved. They should enable small businesses to be involved, and let the zoning regs and the zoning rules of the municipalities determine where those shops should be. It's very important for farmers. I want to make this point clear. California was the only state that classified cannabis as an agricultural crop. Connecticut's Farm Bureau supports legalization. I'm on the board of directors for the Harford County Farm Bureau, and we've been pushing for legalization at the state capitol so that farmers can be involved. Right now, the way cannabis is grown is indoors. There's no true way to grow organically indoors. We have farmers who are engaged in non-GMO, organic farming who can provide safe access to clean cannabis for the community.
Can be an interesting topic to cover next year. Aaron Romano, we thank you so much for being on the program.
Pleasure to be here, Dennis.
When we come back, how should Governor Malloy be remembered? We'll talk about his legacy, and later, a company that will make you smile. And we invite you to watch past interviews of Face the State on our YouTube channel or on the WFSB app. We'll be right back.
Hello, folks. Rob Valenti. Drive to Decide at one of our 4 Volkswagen locations in Watertown, Hartford, Old Saybrook, and Mystic, Connecticut. You better get a Jetta, a well-equipped 2019 Jetta S, now only $18,484. Lease a new Volkswagen Atlas from just $199 a month, or a new Tiguan S starts at just $199 a month, all with a People First warranty. So visit one of our 4 Valenti Volkswagen locations today and drive to Decide. Over 93 years in business. And remember, folks, thank you and just smile.
This is to Christy.
To Carlos.
Here's to the traditions we share and to those yet to come.
If I win, I'm taking everybody on a cruise.
This season, give holiday scratch tickets from the Connecticut Lottery, a tradition worth sharing.
Here at Sylvania, we're always looking to improve our headlights to help people see farther.
Wow.
And drive safer.
Wow.
So we developed our Silver Star Ultras to have greater clarity and the brightest down-road visibility.
Wow.
Turns out Silver Star Ultras have 100% more wow.
Awesome.
And a lot more awesome than your basic halogen headlight. And that's something we could all use. Switch to Sylvania Silver Star Ultra for 100% more wow. Think farther down the road.
Hey, it's your pal, the $6 Million Man. Remember how happy you were getting me as a kid? Feel that way again with a stylish Honda Accord during Happy Honda Days. It comes with a standard turbocharged engine and Honda Sensing, a suite of safety and driver assist features. Yep, they really did build the Accord better, stronger, faster. Wait, where have I heard that before? Get something you'll love during Happy Honda Days with great deals on the Honda Accord. Right now at your Honda dealer.
Welcome back. Some Democrats say Dan Malloy was a great governor. Others say he was okay. And Republicans, some of them have said he was just awful. So what is the truth? Well, with us today is one of his closest advisors, who obviously has a biased opinion, Andrew Dope, a former advisor to the governor. And we thank you for being here with us, and one of his closest friends as well. Andrew, tell us, you know the governor personally, and I know it's got to be difficult when people say negative things about you, and he's been mired in these low poll numbers for a long time. Does it ever get to him on an emotional level?
I mean, look, I don't know a politician alive that doesn't say the only poll that matters is the one on election day, and on those two polls, he did pretty well in 10 and 14. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, from where I sit, I think there's a little bit of a frustration in, I mean, look, nobody likes the person that makes you take your medicine, but you need it to get healthy, and I think that is really sort of what he did over the last 8 years. Somebody's going to be sitting in that seat in the near future. They're going to have nice approval ratings. Things are going to be going relatively well, and it's because Dan Malloy did the hard work every day for 8 years.
Do you think that voters are reassessing their dislike of Dan Malloy? Because, as you know, the Republicans all ran against him this year. They ran commercials. Dan Malloy destroyed Connecticut. Dan Malloy wrecked Connecticut. And yet a Democrat won, Ned Lamont. And do you think that the voters decided, well, maybe it isn't that bad?
Well, I heard someone say when the cycle started that it was going to be a battle of who was more unpopular, Trump or Malloy. It was Trump by a long shot. I think there is a certain validation. I mean, the idea that it's approaching a supermajority in the Senate, the pickups, it absolutely is a validation. And I think, it's easy to dislike something in a vacuum. Do I want this specific thing or some other vague thing? It's easy to say, no, I don't like that. But when you have a clear choice and you have like, do I want this or that, it gets harder. And people, I think, recognize what you're trying to do.
I just want to take a pause for a second because I want to ask you, get your opinion. The big news this week, Nancy Wyman taking over the Democratic Party as the chairwoman. What do you think about that?
It's great. Nancy Wyman is a tireless public servant. She is, I think, a really unifying force in the party. I think she understands where the party needs to go. I think it's a great choice.
How does that relate to voters? Because most voters don't keep track of who's in charge of what party, but she's well known.
She is. I mean, I don't know that, it's sort of like a levels, right? I mean, certainly your average voter doesn't know. Your average Democrat probably will, and then you've got your insiders. I think she's perfect. I mean, she's been around. She knows the players, and I think she sees the direction the party's heading in, and she's a good kind of spearhead in that direction.
Back to the governor now. What do you think is his biggest accomplishment?
That's hard. If I have to choose one, it would be the legislation that was passed after Sandy Hook. If I had to choose one, I mean, he's lowered the unemployment rate 5 points, 126,000 private sector jobs, environmental improvements. So I think there's a huge legacy for him to be proud of. But if I had to pick one, that would be it.
I was talking to someone the other day about it, and they said, well, his biggest, accomplishment is transforming the cities, particularly Hartford. There's been a lot of construction, and a lot of transformation downtown since he took over.
Sure. Well, I mean, for a long time, it seemed like the policy of state government was to just let our cities die on the vine, and I think there is a recognition that they are drivers of economic growth, and so you're seeing that. I mean, these are investments that, they might be in one specific location, but they're meant to improve the situation for the whole area.
You're his advisor, his friend, you know him very, very well. What should he have done differently? Is there one thing that he did wrong that maybe if you had a do-over, yes, we would do it differently?
I can't point to. I mean, look. I mean, there's. I'm not saying it was perfect. I don't know that there's one thing to say. To do that again. I mean, I think you got to play the cards you're dealt, and that's what he did, and the state's better off for it.
Yeah, I know that that some radio people and a lot of other people say that he's how do you say it, irascible sometimes, prickly, and not very nice to some people. But you see a different side of him.
I understand. I mean, he said it himself, right? The famous porcupine line. All I can tell you is, if you want to know, I mean, look at the people. I mean, I was there for 3.5 years. There's people that have been there for going back when he was the mayor of Stamford. So I can tell you, there's not any relation whatsoever to the one, to the person you're working for versus what's sometimes seen by people in the public.
Was it fair, do you think, that he got blamed for the losses of GE and other companies leaving Connecticut and the people moving and the population decline?
I mean, I'm sort of, I don't understand. People seem to be really down on Connecticut. People that lived here forever. I see the population go down, and I'm like, great, less traffic. I mean, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to stay. I mean, there's a lot of positives with this state, and I sort of wish, if anything, Connecticut needs a little self-esteem, if nothing else.
Let's talk about his relationship with Nancy Wyman, because they were together all the time, all the storm coverage, things like that. And it was kind of a coup for him to get her 8 years ago.
Oh yeah, I mean,
how did that go down?
He said it just this week, that one of the best fortunes he had in politics was getting Nancy as his running mate. I mean, look, and I think what really makes Nancy kind of stand out among, past lieutenant governors is that she had a real portfolio. I mean, she was in charge of the rollout of the Affordable Care Act. Connecticut did better than just about every other state with the implementation of that law. I mean, that is a credit to Nancy Wyman and her desire to help people as a public servant.
Finally, I need to post this picture for you right now. And 5 years ago today, during a taping of Face the State, you met your wife, Henna Doba, who was my co-anchor at the time. You came in to the station, and I introduced the two of you, and the rest is history. You got married by the governor not too long after that.
January 23rd, 2017.
So, and Henna pointed out that today was the 5th year anniversary, so we welcome you back, and the best of luck to the two of you.
And thank you for that. That was great.
Your Face the State was life-changing.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Andrew Doba, we thank you so much for coming on the program today. When we come back, well, the face of Monday Night Football in a way you've never seen him, when he used to work back here at Channel 3. And you'll meet a power couple who has created quite a company. Talk about people being cranky in Connecticut. These people are smiling in Connecticut. And we welcome your comments on social media. You can find me right now on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.
Excuse me, this bill is almost double what I was expecting.
Well, it covers all your work, and then some.
Then some?
Like office supplies.
Those are fish.
Off to the club.
Then some?
Okay, let's try something new.
And here's your statement.
I could hug you.
At Aspen Dental, we're a different kind of dentist with up to 30% off dental services and 12-month special financing available, subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. Ask us for details. Schedule online or call 1-800-ASPEN-DENTAL.
You eat healthy, take statins, but still struggle to lower your LDL bad cholesterol. You also have heart disease and fear a heart attack or stroke could strike without warning, pulling you away from everything you love. Because with high LDL, your risk of a heart attack or stroke is real. Now you can reduce that risk with Repatha. Repatha plus a statin dramatically lowers your LDL bad cholesterol by 63% and is proven to significantly drop your risk of having a devastating heart attack or stroke.
Do not take Repatha if you're allergic to it. Repatha may cause serious allergic reactions. Signs include redness, severe rash or itching, swollen face, or trouble breathing. Most common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
Don't let a heart attack or stroke come between you and everything you love. Tell your doctor you're ready to lower your LDL and reduce your risk for real with Repatha.
Pay no more than $5 per month with the Repatha copay card.
Better go Tyndale, Mama.
Better call Tyndale.
For 24/7 electrical service, call Tyndale at 860-278-5478 or visit Tyndale.com.
Get warm by the fireplace at CAFD. We have a huge selection of gas, electric, wood, and pellet fireplaces and stoves, and you'll find styles from traditional to contemporary. Visit our award-winning showroom today in Southington next to Connecticut Lighting and Pilgrim Furniture.
Welcome Welcome back to Face the State on this Sunday morning. You know, Connecticut is often teased as a place where people are unhappy. Cranky Yankees, curmudgeons, we've heard it all. The land of steady habits, unhappy complainers. So how does a company called Always Smiling fit into that picture? With us today, the co-founders of a relatively new company, Jocelyn and Aaron Amar. It's called Always Smiling. We thank you both for being in the program today.
Thank you.
So first of all, in a nutshell, what's the company about? Who wants to take it? Aaron.
It is a positive lifestyle community, really formed to be able to spread positive vibes. It's all about helping people embrace the incredible power of choices. It goes back to that age-old quote, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react. It's all about choosing to find the beauty in life and be able to spread the positivity, spread the optimism, and be there for other people.
And Jocelyn, how did this come about?
Sure. Well, Aaron has always, everyone who knows him, had a smile on his face. That's actually where the name came from. They'd say, Aaron, you are always smiling. And when I actually met him, I asked the same question. He was smiling. He had this energy. I met him here in Connecticut, and I thought, man, is that really true? Is that really at his core? So we had some conversations early on, kind of pressed into it, and realized that this opportunity to be positive and to be always smiling is something that a lot of people have a hard time grasping, myself included originally. So in working with Aaron, kind of understanding that there's different things you can do each day for your mindset to create habits that turn into a lifestyle, there was a real opportunity there.
So we created Always Smiling. It was a community. Ultimately, it was a goal. It was to try to be that beacon of light for others and to be able to draw people in. So instead of us just individually going about our day being happy, we said, all right, how can we have others involved with us? So that's ultimately where it came about.
And how big is the community now?
So right now, it is all across the nation. We've got folks involved globally as well. It is all really online. We have positive messages on our social media pages. We sell different swag, our products. So your T-shirts, hats, the iPhone covers, backpacks. Now, the goal of the products aren't just products or swag. It is ultimately to serve as messages. So everybody can go about their day and may not have somebody positive in front of them or kind of see that visual reminder. The products and our swag is to serve as visual reminders to shift positive.
And some of the proceeds go to charity, correct?
Absolutely. We are partnered with the Big Brothers Big Sisters program here in Connecticut, so we offer some of the proceeds to them. We're very involved with a few of the littles in that program ourselves, so that's a program that brings so much joy to us. So we thought, hey, we have two awesome things going right now. Let's just merge them together.
And we should point out that this is not a full-time job right now. Well, it is, but you still have other paying jobs as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
You work in insurance and you work in real estate?
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Work for a company, Y Risk. We started up 3 years ago, a group of us, and ultimately just got bought by the Hartford this past week. So it's really, to me, it's kind of similar vein of people because our target market is the Generation Y. It is all about helping people embrace the technology and be forward thinking, kind of see the good things in life and always smile, and there's some synergies around with it as well.
You know, as I mentioned, Connecticut can be a little provincial sometimes. You're both from other states and you've come here, but this is your home now and you've been here for a while, you have a baby.
Yep.
Do you ever find resistance to sort of an always smiling attitude?
Sure, and to be fair to Connecticut, we get that. I'm originally from Nebraska. We get that from folks back at Nebraska too. So it's not a geographical thing. I think it's really just an overall mindset. It's so easy to shift to the negative side of things, regardless of where you're from. So here in Connecticut, as I said, I actually met Aaron here, and when I first met him, he did really stand out to me with just this huge smile and this infectious positivity. And so I wanted more of that, of course, to be around that and to learn how I could have that as well. So there is an opportunity here in Connecticut, of course, but to be fair, it really exists everywhere.
Is it hard to open a business in Connecticut?
You know,
I mean, some say it's difficult because of this, that, and the other thing.
Right. It's to me, it was straightforward. You're able to open the business here in Connecticut. It's headquartered here in Connecticut. To the point, I'm originally from Texas, and Connecticut has that vibe where it may, to your original point, you may come off a little bit harder at the beginning. I found that people in Connecticut are extremely nice, right? It just may not come off right at the onset, but I found that they are personable, they are friendly, and what better place to open a business here that was actually more straightforward than one might think, and be able to help spread that community within the state.
So we know that the governor and state lawmakers watch Face the State religiously on Sundays. So what is your message for them as they go into session next year in terms of things that might need to be done to make it more business friendly?
Right. So right off the bat, I would say I think it's a message, right? I think the fact that you have different big, larger corporations that are ultimately leaving the state, to me, we're a small business here. To me, it is a fact that they're right now they've been conducive, they've been helpful, they have been proponents of it. There have been communities to be able to connect with here in the state. So right now, there's nothing specific that I could say from a small business standpoint right now that they should go in and ultimately change.
And what's your advice, Johnson, for people who might want to start a small business? You're watching this right now and say, well, they did it.
Well, absolutely. I think it first and foremost, you have to have that drive, that innate drive, that desire to make a difference. You have to have an anchor, in other words. We had a very clear anchor, and it wasn't just because, hey, positivity is great. As I mentioned, when I first met Aaron, I kind of pushed into him and thought, well, how can you just be shift positive all the time? Because my background and my experience was very different. I lost my father to cancer when I was very young. My first week of college, I missed classes to attend his funeral. So when I met Aaron and he said, hey, we can just shift positive, I really thought, I need some more substance than that. I need you to give me some action items. So really his book that's coming out, Max Potential, it will be out in February. There's some tangible ideas in that book that you can create into your lifestyle, to create habits with. So I just recommend to anybody who's looking forward to starting a business is you have to have extreme drive.
Very inspiring. So the book is on your website, alwayssmilin.com. We thank you so much for being with us, Jocelyn and Aaron Amar.
Thank you.
Finally, our flashback will take you back to December of 1995. Joe Tessitore, the face of Monday Night Football, was on our coverage of the Hartford Whalers. They were playing the New York Rangers, and we had live coverage right here on Channel 3. And here's a classic clip, an epic clip from our archives from December 1995.
'Twas 3 nights before Christmas when all on the ice, not a creature was stirring, not even Steve Rice. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that a big win soon would be there. The players were riled with faces of red as visions of Rangers danced in their head. They remember the season, when it began. They remember a shutout, then another big slam. November was rough. Now December's been cold, but Shanny's been hot with his slap shot of gold. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head let the mighty well know they had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work. He filled each empty net, then turned with a jerk. He laced up his skates, shot off like a missile, then flew towards the garden for the opening whistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, time for Harvey, John, and Darryl. Channel 3, Hockey Night.
Wednesday night, the Whalers looking to deck the halls with a much-needed win. But the Flames set the ice on fire and stuffed Hartford stocking with a 3-2 loss. Back on track, facing off against the red-hot Rangers, who are looking to keep the streak alive at Madison Square Garden.
Who doesn't miss the Hartford Whalers, huh? Thanks for watching this Sunday. Stay tuned for some great football right here on Channel 3, and I'll see you in the news tomorrow. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Wine connoisseurs and food aficionados rejoice. The Sun Wine and Food Fest is back January 24th through 27th at Mohegan Sun. Sip and sample your way through endless vintages, signature dishes, and incredible celebrity chef showcases featuring Alex Guarnaschelli, Marcus Samuelson, Bobby Flay, Aaron Sanchez, and more. Join us at this culinary adventure that stretches across the New Earth Expo Center and Uncas Ballroom. For tickets, visit the Mohegan Sun box office or sunwineandfoodfest.com.
Being the 1 millionth customer at your grocery store. That's lucky.
Your